many strands to that background. Basically, it's Tinubu and his 2027 ambition. And some of us even suspect it's beyond 2027. Or in fact, beyond 2031, which makes it even more complicated. It's not as simple as people think it is. He has this overgnawing ambition about wanting to be the president of the country. When he now voiced in Abeokuta Emilio Kon, and there was much more to it. And you can see what he's been playing. In the last 2.5 years, has there been governance? None. There's been this attempt to use the same military language, capture. Here's Lagos, in rebellion. And people ought to know that something is happening. He's no longer in charge of Lagos. Not quite what he thought it was. Then he also wants to meddle into Kano. He wants to meddle into Rivers. He's also part of whatever is happening in Edo State, then Osun State. So all of that is the full background, if you like, to look at what is happening in Rivers State. Then comes a very unusual thing. When although nobody wanted to talk about it, we had 2 governors in Rivers State.
Right now.
Do I know? Maybe you can say 3 now, because here was a situation where you have a sitting governor who didn't have a space even to perform or to do anything or to have the freedom. Then you have Wike who has left. And we've always analyzed this issue of godfatherism. This is the worst we've ever had. And then you have him colluding in cahoot with the president, because the president allowed him to run riot. Every day press conference over the state you left. You are both the governor of FCT and you are the governor unrecognized
governor in diaspora.
That's the governor of diaspora of Rivers State. And that's all that is played. Now, when you're introducing yourself, of course there's a security report which Fubara gave. The explosion is not what, when you now even said, oh, expected. Yes, we expected there was going to be eventually, state of emergency. There could be spate of vandalism and all of that. But what happened is that the report that came from Fubara is that it's the Wike group that used this as a decoy, that when you explode that Trans-Sahara pipeline, then of course that will give an easy excuse for the president to declare emergency. In any case, did he follow the due process? Of course, he ought to have cleared with the House, but he just called them and informed them what he wanted to do. It is only today they want to perfect the paper. Is that a process?
Okay, interesting. Shadrach,
yes.
When you listen to Mr. President's broadcast, and if you read the full text of the broadcast, this is in line with Section 308 of the Constitution. And the president also relied on the Supreme Court judgment on this River case. And I hear that there are about 8 pending, issues that were resolved at the appeals that the Supreme Court adjudicated upon in the last judgment on River State. What do you make of the constitutional angle, the legal background to this issue?
From the legal angle, I see, for me, I was relatively surprised at the speech of the president. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu practically played his card out. It now dawned on us Nigerians that it wasn't Wike that was fighting Fubara, but Wike was merely just a tool. The battle was actually between Tinubu and Fubara.
But he made efforts to resolve the issue.
When he made efforts, he called them for a meeting and he told Fubara to stoop low to conquer. That is to say, he should make provisions for all of those commissioners that had left his government. Fubara insisted and gave provisions for them to come back. He made an appeal review for them to come back in a bid for trying to reconstitute a sane governance. Then he gave a Supreme Court judgment that was not a reflection of justice. People had said that when you go to court and ask for a court about A, B, C, and the court declares and gives you A, B, C, and D. And even as I speak with you now, some of the Supreme Court judges have gone behind the scene to review that judgment and say there's an erroneous disposition in that judgment. It's not a reflection of justice. And yet, the man, in all humility, still said he was willing to implement the judgment in total. It was as though they said, maybe, first of all, this guy will not take our instructions. They gave him instruction he could not swallow. Later, they came back, they gave him a Supreme Court judgment that was almost impossible for him to implement. He said he will. You see Fubara in humility, People who started losing interest that this man can't fight, this man does not have the bold to stand strong and defend himself. He went to the House of Assembly in a bid to present. But when we saw that they botched the effort and they left the House of Assembly in a bid to frustrate the mass efforts. And today we've got to this point. See, when you talk about Section 308, there are conditions that necessitate the declaration of state of emergency. The first one of them is that there must be either war, insurrection, civil unrest that will lead to the complete breakdown of law and order.
So were you expecting to wait?
No, listen to me. That is what the law says.
Yes.
There is war, insurrection, civil unrest, a complete. I didn't write the Constitution. Constitution was written as a supreme level to guide us. It's complete. There was no complete breakdown of order. There was no war. There was no insurrection. The other option was that there was going to be a natural disaster that will lead to a public unrest, health unrest, or public health emergency. There was nothing like that. The third one was that there would either be a situation whereby the state government cannot function. That was the question. So we saw that there was a deliberate and a cooked up attempt to look for the slightest provocation to invoke because even the threshold for the declaration of a state of emergency was not met. They cornered this thing, went to blow one pipeline. They blew the pipeline around in the morning or yesterday evening. And the next minute, you are declaring state of emergency without doing proper investigation to ascertain the validity or the extent at which it has come. It was the same Wike who opened his mouth and made these unguided statements that infuriated the judge, who called them minorities, said they don't have the capacity to produce a governor anywhere. And that's what has infuriated us. So we see this daily attempt. And you see what makes it very irritating? The man went behind the guys to say because there's no state of emergency that the man starts suspended. And I dare say, there is no provision in the Nigeria Constitution that empowers the president to unilaterally suspend a governor. Directly or indirectly, and there are legal precedents to it. Obasanjo did it in 2004 and 2006 when he suspended the governor of Plateau State because there was a killings, tribal wars and court killings. He did it in the case of Ayodele Fayose. And we also know what happened in the case when the thing was challenged in the court. The thing fell flat, he could not stand. Tinubu now, who claimed to be a Democrat, has now engaged in destroying the structures because there wasn't a judgment. We saw the judgment in 2006 between the Akata General, the Attorney General of Lagos State, and the Attorney General of the Federation, where the Supreme Court ruled that it was unconstitutional for the president to meddle into the affairs of the state. We've seen another president between 2014, Fawemi and the Abacha, when the Supreme Court also ruled that even in a state of emergency, the president must follow due process. What I still want to advise Fubara is that Fubara needs to understand these intricacies of governance. That first of all, before it will take like 2 days, before a minimum of 2 days for the House of Assembly to ratify the state of emergency, and if they were in recess, it would take over like 10 days. Fubara should take this opportunity to challenge this in the court. So we should file a suit at the Supreme Court challenging the suspension. His own suspension by the president unilaterally without any provisional constitution. Secondly, he will now file an injunction, an interim injunction, restraining the president from appointing an administrator over River State because that thing is totally unconstitutional and not required. We will restrain him and also restrain the federal government from using the federal security agencies from intimidating or implementing the state of emergency so that he too can hold sway. He has to defend himself because what we run here is democracy, is not a dictatorship where one man holds sway and cannot. If you look clearly, see, if you go and visit what it takes to remove a city governor, there are only four provisions. The first one of them is in section 188, where it says an impeachment process, where 1/3 of the House of Assembly must raise a motion. That's a motion of gross misconduct or abuse or illegality, and the Chief Justice will set up a committee, a 7-man committee, that will investigate and revert back to the House, and 2/3 majority will sign to get the governor out. That's the impeachment. The second one is the issue of incapacitation, when the governor is no longer capacity, they don't have the capacity to preside. Maybe he's mentally derailed or he's sick. The State Executive Council can come together. That one is in section 189. The state executive can come together and write to the House of Assembly that this governor can no longer perform, and they will prove medical results, health results, to show that the man is incapacitated. That's the second one. The third one is the issue of resignation. In section 305, the governor can 306 rather, the governor can write to the House of Assembly that he is resigning, that he does no longer want to run for any reason best known to him. Then the governor will step down. There is a third one, when you call the issue of death. Either the guy dies or the issue of falsification. Where maybe the governor is dead, he can no longer function, or perhaps there was a falsification of result. Maybe he did a wrong age declaration, wrong as education certificate, or maybe he lied on that oath, any falsification, or he was an ex-convict. Those are the only provisions in the Constitution that makes it possible for a governor to be ejected or impeached or seat. There's nowhere where these guys can be used. So what I see is a direct attack on democracy, a usurpation on the powers of the state government and an effort to destroy what is left of this national democracy,
All right, let
using
me
the tools
proceed there,
of politics.